I believe in you. I love you for trying. I will love you if you fail. And I am here to see you succeed. I will cheer for you the whole way, fail or not. My relationship with you involves you learning this skill, but it is not based on you learning this skill. And so you can put that aside and know that you are in a safe place. And that safety is what allows them to form the relationship.
Welcome again to the Generation Youth Podcast. I am James McLamb, the host of the show, and I'm here with my new friend, Kate. How are you doing today, Kate?
I'm doing excellent. How are you?
I'm doing well. I have long been following you, and I told you offline that about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, you were hosting with John Gordon the Power of Positive Teens, and you offered that for teenagers to join. And I convinced my preteen, who was 10 or 11 years old, to sit and watch and learn this. But one, because I wanted her to get that knowledge and information, and two, I wanted to learn. And I knew a 50-year-old guy sitting there staring would look kind of awkward. So I said, hey, sit in front of the computer for a while. And she loved it. And I learned a lot. I obviously took a whole lot more notes. So I appreciate the passion and desire that you've had to positively impact youth over the years of your life. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I had a lot of parents actually hiding off in the background, and I could hear them whispering questions. So it was awesome, and I wanted to be like, "Come on in, you guys. It's okay."
Well, our audience always wants to learn a lot more about our guests, and they don't want to hear me talk. So if you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself to the Generation Youth audience.
All right. Oh gosh, let's see. Well, I have a bunch of random things, but I'll try to stick with things that are relevant here. My general background is really in sports and athletics, and I love using sports as a way to teach, just life lessons and fun and, just an escape for kids to get to and kind of get their brains straight. And so that's a big part of what I do. And so I've coached youth sports all the way up through NCAA. I'm currently coaching a brand new NAIA team down in Sarasota, Florida. We launch in the fall. So I'm really excited about that. On the side of that, as my kids were getting into sports themselves, all of the frustrations that I was hitting, I needed to put them somewhere. And as a writer, that's kind of where it went. And so I started blogging, and my blogs got picked up by USA Lacrosse and then other national organizations, other sports. They were going all over the place. And so I said, all right, I guess I'm writing. And that kind of grew out to my first book, which was a lacrosse book. As a national lacrosse coaches education trainer for US Lacrosse, I had a lot of questions about what do I do at practice? How do I get kids to listen? What's a good drill? And instead of emailing everybody the same thing over and over, I just said, I'm going to write a book. And then I can just tell them, go get the book. So that's where that started. And, I realized that I did not quite have a handle on culture till I met John Gordon. I didn't know who he was, but I met him at an airport, and he sent me a copy of The Energy Bus and transformed the way that I look at a lot of things, really, but especially positivity. And that led to my first book, I guess, which is Confessions of an Imperfect Coach. And that's my
Oh,
transformation
wow.
journey. So, and I included in the back of that book a lot of blog posts that kind of went viral and really resonated with people. And that is a really cool, it's one of those books that I didn't market. And I hear from people all the time. It just kind of gets passed around from coach to coach until the pages fall out. And I love hearing about it and in just the coolest ways. So, and that's kind of what started my writing career. And I've written a few more books. I co-wrote Stick Together with John Gordon that came out in March of 21, and was fortunate to get a Wall Street Journal bestseller title after that one, and not just Amazon bestseller. So I got to add that on and came out with Superpower the next year. But my passion is empowering. I love to empower teens, and I love to empower everybody, but teens especially, I think, just because they're so vulnerable. And it's such a pivotal time, and there's so few maybe resources or maybe even the confidence to seek the resources. So that's an area that I really am passionate about.
Well, you talked to me about wanting to change the way we lead our youth, and that really spoke to me. As someone who's a former teacher and then has been working with youth in some facet or another all my life, I was even trying to lead youth when I was one because I was so arrogant to think I knew what was going on that I thought, hey, come and look, watch and listen to me. I got my act together. And looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, how I'm embarrassed at me. But changing the way we lead our youth it seems to be an evolving thing. Everybody wants to do that. But what do you mean by that? Change the way we lead them?
Yeah, I think we've overcompensated too much for, the way things used to be done, or as I call it, the old school coaching, which
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could argue that it worked, but it's kind of all we knew. So it was really this separation between leader and team. And it was, don't question me. Everybody look like you're doing the part, walk in a straight line, talk the talk, and if there's anything outside of that, leave it outside. Don't bring it into practice. Don't bring it into school. We don't want to hear about it. Focus on what we need to focus on. And what it really is a separation. It's a lack of connection and a lack of relationship with who we're leading. But ironically, when we can't form that relationship with them, we then blame them for not, relating back to us and not telling us when they're having a problem, not coming to us when they need help. So we're kind of setting ourselves up for failure as leaders. And this idea of punishment and fear being the motivator. And this is
Mm.
kind of, what I learned. And I did a really kind of fun poll just to see, how did you learn to become a leader? Was it trial by fire? Did you take leadership courses? Are you doing what was done for you? And you're just kind of picking and pulling from that. And almost no one says they had training. Most people said trial by fire, or they're just doing, or a combination of just doing what they know from what leaders did for them. And either they picking out things they liked or things they didn't like and maybe changing it. But most people just repeat patterns, just like families are cyclical, so are leadership styles. And it doesn't work as well. And, I hear about this, kind of gets me started sometimes, just hearing about how, well, kids are soft these days, and, they're not accountable and they're entitled. For me, that's a
Mm.
cop out. That is a big cop out, because none of us have ever lived. I mean, we haven't lived in the same world that they live in. And thank goodness, because if we all had cell phones and cameras, and I think everyone I know that's my age
Yeah.
says, oh, I'm really glad we didn't have cameras when we were
Yeah.
kids, we'd be in
And
trouble.
it's not their fault either. They're just reacting to the world that we gave them.
Yeah,
Uh,
they are in a world that expects more, that costs more, that asks for more, but at the same time doesn't give consequences, or doesn't make the consequences fit. It's like allow it, allow it, allow it, and then all of a sudden it's like this massive consequence that comes out of nowhere after we've been very lenient, because we're still supposed to be, not leading the same ways that we had when we were growing up. So it's a broken system, and I understand why it happens. I do believe that we needed to change the way that we were leading before, because it wasn't relational enough, but I don't think we corrected it in the right way. And I really just studied it, because it was getting the better of me. As a coach, you're under a microscope. Parents are coming to you, your athletic directors are coming to you, your kids are coming to you, and you have to find a balance. And there's this point where it's like, coaching's just not fun anymore, because all I'm doing is defending myself, and
mm.
all I want to do is give. And that's a really difficult situation to be in. For it's going to chase a lot of good coaches away, and it's going to bring, unfortunately, a lot of bad coaches kind of out of the woodwork.
When you were describing the issue and the problem, the first thing that came to my mind, or one of the things that came to my mind, was I hear a lot of folks echo your sentiment. Hey, we've overcorrected. It's just we're not holding them accountable enough. We're not doing the things to build their confidence like we should. A lot of people are saying that, but nothing is really moving. It's not like there was like a big effort to change from the old way to the new way, but there's no, even though I'm hearing it a lot, I'm not seeing a lot of people say, hey, let's go, we've overcorrected, let's go back. The pendulum used to be a little bit more refined. Well,
Yeah.
that bothers me. Why do you think, am
Yeah.
I, am I over analyzing that, or am I right?
No, I think you're right. And I think that what we're lacking, and the reason that I do what I do, is that people don't know what to fix it to. And
Ooh.
so when you look at it and we try to swing the pendulum back, we can't go back to where we were not relational. That doesn't work. It creates more of the problems that we're trying to get rid of. So if we're being told as coaches or as teachers in a school setting, you are not allowed to, punish. You are not allowed to hold them accountable to this because the parents will be upset. You are not allowed to. Then the answer isn't to allow it and become a doormat. The answer is to change the approach. And so it's a little bit like, you're if you imagine a cube and you're standing on one side of the cube and you're trying to get in, and that side of the cube just won't let you in. So you go to the other side, you try to get in that way, and you go to the top and you try to get in that way. And you have to find a way to get into that space where you're relational with the people that you're teaching. But instead, we're kind of just like trying to force ourselves into something that's not working. And for me, the big answer, behind everything is build, not break. And that has been my theme for a very long time. So if you can remember, maybe your mom told you when you're a kid or whatever, but before you say something, you ask yourself two questions. Is it true? And do they need to hear it? Right. So before you give feedback, you kind of ask yourself, is it true? And do they need to hear it? And then we stop right there and then we unleash, right? Because usually it's true as a leader, like we need to give them this feedback. And it's true. You guys are stinking it up. And do they need to hear it? Oh yeah, they need to hear it. And then we unleash, like, but we're missing one piece. And the last piece is, will my delivery of this feedback build or break? Will it build our relationship, their confidence, their motivation, their belief that they can get this done, our goals, our path to our goals, or will it break those things down? And it's a little bit like giving somebody a present, and you have two presents, and one of them is wrapped in this like amazing package that looks like something really awesome is inside. And then the other one is just a trash bag. If you give feedback and hold somebody accountable and you hand them something in a trash bag, don't be upset if they think it's trash. If you give someone feedback and they understand that this feedback is because I believe in you, I know what you're capable of, this is going to help you get there, I'm here to support you. It is a present they want to open. They understand that it's a gift. They understand this isn't a punishment. This isn't trash. I'm not have to roll my eyes and, here comes again. I'm being told I'm not paying attention and I don't want to be here and I don't care anymore. Nobody wants to open that package. And so instead of blaming the receiver, we need to look in the mirror and say, what does my package look like when I am delivering feedback, instruction, correction? And I believe that breaking it down, there's a lot of parts, but if you wanted to make it as simple as possible, that's it right there. Make sure they know that it's a gift, make sure they want to open it, and then deliver something that truly is going to bring them to a better place. You're still holding them accountable.
Yeah, I bet someone's listening right now. They're going and they're screaming at their whatever they're either watching or listening to, going, "That sounds great, but how do I do it? Everything that I see seems to be like I'm handing them a pile of trash. They don't get
Yeah,
it, and they're blaming it more like, oh, they're not hearing the good things I'm saying. So,
right.
can we give them a step one? Is
Yeah.
it something that point them in the right direction?
It's actually really easy and it's life changing when you figure it out. This is why I wrote the, Confessions of an Imperfect Coach, because I was like, man, I like coaching again. This is fun. So here it is. It's all about belief statements. And so when we give feedback or we give a correction, the old way, and maybe still some people like this, is the Oreo sandwich, right? It's the like, here's a positive, here's a negative, here's a positive. Like, you're not sneaky. They know what you're doing and they hear the thing in the middle and they know the other two are just, you're thinking any like, oh, yeah, that was a really good, ground ball scoop. Sure, it was great, whatever. But you're slow as, what a turtle. And also your uniform looks great today. Like, they're not dumb. Okay. Like, they know.
Warn me
So,
when you're going to say something like that. That I don't have a drink of water.
oh, I
I
do that
just
a
spit it
lot.
on my mic there.
So I change it. And so really the delivery is, you know, you're not where you need to be right now, and it's not getting it done. And it might be an effort issue. It might be, just a skill issue that you need to work on. You need to put more time in. It might be a communication issue. It might be a time management issue, whatever it is. However, you are here because I want you to be here, because I have seen greatness in you, because I've seen your potential and I've also seen you step forward. I've seen you do amazing things, but right now you're not stepping into that power. And I need you to get there because the rest of the team is better when you are at your best. And right now you're not at your best. So everyone is feeling that. And I'm feeling that. And I need more from you, but I'm here to help you solve whatever it is that's not allowing you to step forward and be that person. And I am here for support. and I'm going to hold you accountable to it. But I'm holding you accountable to it because I can't go home and sleep at night knowing I didn't push you to be who I know you can be, because that is what coaching and teaching is all about. That is why you
Mm,
have a coach and a teacher. And so we're going to get there together, and it's completely different from telling someone, "Look, you're not cutting it. You're falling short. If you don't catch up and get on here, I'm going to find someone who wants to be here." We start to insert intent for them. And so imagine that you have this teenager who has a lot of stuff going on in their life that we know nothing about, right? I don't know any teenagers that don't, right? So they've got stuff going on, right? Whatever it is, either it's friend drama, it's stuff at home, just pressures, whatever it is. So we don't know what's going on in their life. And then we have the audacity to tell them, I don't think you care. I don't think you want to be here. And they may be doing everything they can to just show up and give the best that they have, but this is all they have right now because they're going through something. And I haven't built a relationship to allow them to tell me that, or I might be judging, what, well, that's a good enough excuse, or it's not a good enough excuse, whatever. They may not feel safe in that. So I try really hard to avoid labeling intent on somebody else and just say, here's what I'm seeing, and here's what I have seen, and here's what I believe. And here's how I'm here to help you. What are you willing to commit to get us there? Here's what I'm willing to commit to. And I know John Gordon is really big on saying leaders go first. And I love that. Here's what I'm
mhm.
willing to commit to. Um, Instead of walking in front of your team the very first day and going, all right, guys, I expect you to trust me, to follow me, to not question me. And we're a family, even though you know nothing about me, I know nothing about you. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, every coach tells their team that at the beginning of the season, and they're like, I don't know you. We have to go first. We have to show our commitment, and that is going to help turn that around. But it's the package. The package is so important, and it's got to come from a place of belief, because if they don't believe you can do it, why are you going to put out more effort? We're actually demotivating them when we give them feedback without belief behind it.
I know we're talking about this in terms of working with teenagers and youth that may be a part of a team or part of a classroom, but I heard a lot there that could be the confessions of an unsuccessful parent. Because my first thought was
True.
when you were going through this, like, gosh, where was this advice when I had teenagers still? Well, I still have one that'll be coming through that I could,
There's still time.
there's still time for this one, but I have one getting married pretty soon. So,
Still time.
yeah, that's the same thing. And my first thought was, ooh, can we reframe that whole statement from a
Yeah.
parenting aspect of it too? Because
It's changed.
yeah.
It's the way I parent, for sure. When I figured this out, because I am very, I want to be efficient. And the straightest line to a correction is to interrupt them during the mess up and to like point them in the right direction. And you're like, look how great I'm doing at this parenting thing and this coaching thing. And I'm giving them all I'm helping them figure the answer out themselves. And I'm pointing out and doing all the things that I think are really great. But I am missing the part that says, I believe in you. I love you for trying. I will love you if you fail, and I am here to see you succeed. I will cheer for you the whole way, fail or not. My relationship with you involves you learning this skill, but it is not based on you learning this skill. And so you can put that aside and know that you are in a safe place. And that safety is what allows them to form the relationship. Now, you cannot have safety in a fear driven coaching, teaching, parenting style, right? It doesn't work. You cannot be inconsistent in your delivery and have safety, because when you are inconsistent, then you have reactive kids, teens, students, athletes. Their energy, instead of going into focusing on the skill or whatever it is that they're trying to do, is now completely focused on what mood are they in. Is this going to
Mm.
be okay if I joke around today, or is it not okay if I joke around today? Is this going to be fun time? If I say the wrong thing, are they going to snap? They told me yesterday it's okay if I come talk to them and ask questions, but then when I asked them a question today, instead of telling me, hey, this isn't a good time, let's come back later and ask me, they yelled at me. So I'm not going to do that again. So that consistency is really important, but everything that forms safety needs to be the focus. And some people see that as coddling, but it's not coddling, it's teaching them. And the other side of that is meet them where they are. So if I get a high school student who doesn't know that, they should probably call me coach, especially on the field and not by my first name, or maybe they don't know when's the appropriate time to ask me, like not in the middle of the game, hey coach, I'm kind of upset about not playing enough. Like that might not be a good time to be asking me that. But instead of teaching them how to do it appropriately, we expect them, oh, they should know this by now. Well, they don't. So too bad. Teach them. If they did it, they don't know it by now. And it is our job, because it probably means the person before us also thought they should know it by now. And the person before that thought they should know it by now. And guess what? They didn't come out of the womb knowing how to do it. So we're going to have to teach them, hey, this isn't really a good time. Next time when you have a question, let's go ahead and talk after the game. And I can appreciate that you're anxious about this. It's just not a good time to ask the question. Does that sound good? Great. Okay. And then if they continually do it, then it's an issue of, okay, we need to talk later. And why is this so hard for you to absorb this information? And what, is our reason you're getting so anxious during the game, whatever it is. But our job is to teach them through it. If we set them up to be leaders with their team and they're not leading well, nobody's listening to them, they're not organizing, instead of just calling them a failure, say, hey, what approach are you trying? Have you tried these things? What response are you getting? Maybe we should have some of them step up and lead so they can see how difficult this is. But like, teach. We're skipping that part and forgetting.
I try to put myself in the position of someone who's listening to this and thinking about what they're asking right now. And someone's probably going, you give me this stuff. I love what you're saying, but does it really work? I mean, are there some, can you tell me at a time that it actually worked, that you've either done it and worked, or you've, coached someone and they have tried it on their teams and it's worked? If you got a story or an anecdote that can bring this to life, because I don't know if you hear this a lot, but those of us who are in this field are trying to pour into people and provide, personal development type help. We get this feedback sometimes of, oh, you guys are always these positive, motivated. It's not the real world. It doesn't work in the real world. So is there we got something that we can share with them to show, yes, this actually works in the real world, people.
Yeah, I can do you better than that, because I have a whole book on it. And it is literally Confessions of an Imperfect Coach. It is a journal from start to finish that I was writing as just a journal for myself until I realized what was happening. And I said, I need to share this. And so as I'm writing it, I don't know how it ends. So when you read it, you're watching me transform as I enter each, here's what's happening with the team. And there are a lot of great thought leaders out there that don't have a second of experience, and they can talk about it, but they can't do it. And this really, for me, was born from my stubbornness. I just put in a wood floor. Okay. I am like, if I don't know how to do something, I'm going to learn how to do it and I'm going to conquer it. That's just how I am. I had a culture issue to the point where I was ready to walk away from coaching, because I was nice. We had fun. We were winning. I was strict when I thought I needed to be strict. And I had people crying on the bench. And I got to a point where at the last game, I just was like, anybody who wants to play, sit on the left. And if you just want to cry and complain, or you just don't care anymore, sit on the right. It's just like, I don't know what to do with you people. What is going on? And that was when I just said, all right, I'm going to need to figure out this culture thing, because I have no idea. I know lacrosse inside and out, but I don't know how to deal with human emotion at all. And, that was a problem, because they're not robots. They are people. And you cannot tell them to turn off their human side and, plug in what you want them to do, or take a joystick and, just move them around the field. They're going to be inconsistent. They're going to have all sorts of things going on. So I had to learn, how do I bring out the best in them? And how do I, just do things better? And so I took a new coaching job. I moved down to Georgia, and I took on a new team, and I said, okay, I'm going to run an experiment on this team. And I'm not going to tell anybody that I'm doing it, but what I was miserable as a coach. And I said, I really want to love coaching again, because I love lacrosse and I love teaching it. So I got to figure out a way, and I'm not compromising on this. And I love to win, man. I more than that, I hate to lose. Really.
You and I are like soul people, because I'm the same way. Folks think on the things that I've coached, oh, you just love to win. I was like, no, winning is just I don't get excited anymore with it. But losing, you don't want to be around me after a
No,
loss.
and I am just one of those people where, like, if you're on the treadmill in front of me at the gym and you're just going for a leisurely stroll, I'm racing you. You have no idea. I'm eating a sandwich at the table next to you, I'm going to eat it faster than you. I'm going to finish, and my table's going to be cleaner. I mean, it's just I have to compete. It drives me. My daughter is the same way. It's just like
It's too. My
I
oldest
like
is
to
the
be.
same way too.
Yeah. So people will, they'll try to tell me, well, you just aren't very competitive. I'm like, oh no, do not get me wrong. This is I like to win. And I also, I have an ego like everyone else does. I have to control it. I have to keep it in check. I do feel connected to the score at the end of the game and feel like it's a reflection of me, at least in some way. And so that's
Hmm.
obviously there. It's not like I don't have to fight through these things like everyone else. But when I changed my focus, and the experiment was that I was going to focus, I was still going to coach, still going to do everything that I normally do, but my focus and my number one priority was going to be the experience that they had on the team that I was leading, so that they would leave and they would say, this was the best year of lacrosse I have ever had, and I do not want it to end. And that was my goal. Instead of we're going to win everything, and not that I didn't try to win, but if it came up into this, I'm making them miserable versus getting prepared for this game, or the entire team signed up for the SAT, you know, right before our playoff game, and they're all coming straight from the test, and they're like, their eyes are spinning, and like, instead of reaming them out, like, why did you pick this date? You could have done the fall. I was like, you know what? They all have to take the SAT. Sometimes this is the date that works for them. It happens to fall during lacrosse season, and we're going to go do the best we can with whatever this is. And when I let go of that, there is such a difference between a team that is there because they have to, that is staying in line so they don't get in trouble, versus a team that cannot wait to show up for practice, that
Oh, that's
cannot
true.
wait to play that game. And when I shifted, I was no longer pulling people to the end of the season going, why do I want this more than you do? Why am I begging you to show up with some energy? Why am I have to refocus you at practice 10 times? Why am I bringing literally a motivational speech or video every single practice because you guys just seem to be like out of it, and you can't, it was the end of every season. That's where I was ending up. And when I made that shift, they were energizing me. They could not wait to be there. And our theme at the end of that season was one more day. Nobody wanted this season to end. We wanted to
Wow.
just keep going forever and ever and ever. And it was, and everyone, there was no more, if you're late to practice, you're all running. And I get a lot of people on that when you don't like that. But I'll tell you what, does it work? Because they're running all the time. So my answer is no, it doesn't work. But what it does do is create a whole bunch of division on the team, and every single person that plans ahead and gets to practice on time is repeatedly getting punished. Why should they even show up on time anymore at that point? We are now destroying the ones that are doing what they need to do by teaching them there is no reward for doing the right thing because you're going to pay for everyone else. And I just said, I don't like that message. I don't like this message anymore. I also don't want a teenager getting into a car accident because they're terrified the team's going to be mad at them because they were going to run for being late. Like, I don't want that on my conscience. I don't want to worry about that. Tell you what, I've been late. I've been late quite a bit, actually. My phone auto corrects my name from Kate to late all the time when I type it in. Uh, but I've been late to work. I have been late to a meeting. And you know what? It happens. And you know what you do? You apologize. And so I said, all right, what's a life lesson from this? You're late. When you get there, you apologize. You immediately get to work. You dig right in. And then afterwards, you let the coach know, hey, here's what happened. And here's how I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen again. Or it was out of my control. Or you know what? I made a bad choice, or I mistimed it, whatever it was. And we say, okay, great. And if it's a repeated problem, then we're going to have a meeting and we're going to talk about it. What's keeping you from being on time? Do we just need to work on your schedule, or whatever it is? You
So
overcommitted.
there's still that accountability. You're not
Right.
letting them
The
go away. Yeah.
accountability is there, but the presentation still comes in. I respect you as a person. I'm not going to hold you to a standard that as an adult, nobody could be held to. You know what? Your parents might be driving you to practice, and you're running because your parents are late coming from work. I mean, we don't think about these things. And so I have gotten rid of so many rules to the point where it is, if they want to be there, I don't have to tell them, don't schedule the SAT. Don't schedule the SAT on the date when we have practice. Don't be late. I don't have to say these things because they can't wait to get to practice. We
Mm-hmm.
start our practice with a really fun game. That's the first thing that we do. And then we go into practice. Well, nobody wants to miss the fun game. We all want to show up for the fun game, right? If the first thing you do at practice is yell at them for the game they had yesterday and then run sprints as their punishment, nobody wants to come to practice. Nobody's going to be energized when they come in, and then they're miserable afterwards. And you're upset because you're bringing up all those emotions that you had in the game. So it doesn't serve anyone to do that. And so I was questioning, why do we do it? What do
Mm-hmm.
we get? What is the reward or the return on that investment of time? So I have them for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and I spend 20 minutes reaming them out for the day before. What return do I get on that?
And I think
And
we've all had coaches like
nothing.
that and teachers like that in
Hmm.
our life, and it does affect our mentality towards the game. Part of the reason why I jumped into coaching baseball, even though I was coaching an adult team on stuff, and the players said, "Oh, when your son gets old enough, you'll quit the adult team and you're going to focus on coaching him." I'm like, "Nah, that's not going to happen. My dad didn't coach my teams. I learned a lot from coaches." Well, I saw a coach, and these were 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, and he's in the outfield yelling at them, "You guys are pathetic. You can't catch anything." And I'm thinking, they're 6 and 7-year-old. They're not
Hmm.
pathetic. They're
Hmm.
6 and 7.
Yeah. Oh
If
yeah.
they can
Well, I
catch
had
everything out there, then they probably shouldn't be playing at 6 and 7 level.
this must be a baseball thing because I was coaching a middle school lacrosse team, and there were some young. They must have been elementary school at some point. Boys on the baseball field right next to us, and the coaches were yelling, my daughter's faster than you. You guys run like girls, and I'm standing there going, first of all, I don't know why you're yelling at them. Second of all, I have a team of girls over here that you are insulting while you're screaming that oh, girls are faster than you. Like, okay, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But like we don't think about that stuff when we're yelling it out. That we're teaching them what the standard is, and I think it's so important that we build this environment where they feel empowered to be their best. And I don't care what the kid is doing, saying, whatever. I've never met a kid that doesn't want to please their authority figure. And they may not act that way because that's their behavior. They
Mm-hmm.
haven't learned how to show it. It might be, hey, I don't want you to know how much I want to please you. I don't want you to know that I care because then you can break me. Every single kid comes in with a bias. So while it might seem unfair that, if I come in as a female coach and I'm coaching a boys sport and they have a bad relationship with their mom or a female teacher, I come in with that bias whether I like it or not, even though I didn't earn it, and I have to prove that I'm a different kind of leader. And whatever background they come in with, it's going to take time for them to learn what kind of leader you are. And until then, you will be disproving whatever it is that they know and what they've learned of authority figures. So we have to consistently show up and say, this is who I am. But as soon as we go back into that fear based, like, you know what, it's so much easier to just make them run when they're not listening. It just, all you're doing is validating. You're validating the fact that, you know what, every leader goes back to this point where they think that we're lazy. And at the end of the day, I'm never going to be able to please them. I'm never going to be good enough. And now their effort level goes down, goes down, goes down. And then we got kids quitting sports, and you don't know what they're hearing at home. I hear parents all the time drop their kid off. Here's my kid. They're super unathletic. And I'm like, they're doing great out here. But every time you tell them they're unathletic, they
Yeah.
start to believe that. So I just think that that's really important.
Wow. There's so many parallels on what you're saying, or so many ways this could be applied as a parent. That was just like everything you're saying is that you're talking about. Helps with coaches and stuff. You could just take out the coach scenario and put in the family scenario and parenting
Mhm.
stuff, and you're right on. It's amazing how if you take a step back, the skills that are needed to be effective in both are so intertwined.
And it's not soft because I do hear that, is that Like, we can't coddle, we can't coddle. There is nowhere in there where we're not holding them accountable. It's just
Mhm.
how we don't have to humiliate someone to hold them accountable. If somebody
That's
held us,
important. That is so. That's big. That
yeah,
is huge. What you just said. It's not soft when because you're not yelling and screaming and having
mhm,
hard nosed rules. They think you're soft.
right.
When a softness
You know what?
maybe is a lack of accountability, and you're
I'll tell
saying
you
yes,
what.
we're holding them accountable.
I'll tell you what soft is. Okay, and this is the opposite of what people say soft is. Because if you have ever been watching a game that is falling apart in front of your eyes and they aren't doing anything you show them, you're watching going, I know I did not teach you that. I know that I did not teach you that, right? And you can keep your composure, find a way to deliver a message that they need to hear that will bring out the best of them in this moment, that will encourage them, motivate them, and get them to step forward so that they play better. If you can do all of that while showing you still truly care about them, even if this doesn't go the way that we want it to, that is not easier than taking a bunch of emotion and unleashing it. That's
Mm-hmm.
soft. That's easy. That is the easy road. That does not make you a tough coach. It doesn't make you a great coach. It makes you a coach that cannot control themselves enough to find the best way to get your kids to step up. And if you take, a coach that is always unleashing emotion and you replace them with someone who is patient and is going to really believe in the team and push them, they will take the exact same players and they will take them all the way. And I've done it. I've gone in and been that coach that's taken the exact same players. They were last place in the state and we finished in the final four. And I've done it several times. And the only thing I changed was I believed in them. They knew I believed in them. And I held them accountable with respect. Imagine going to work and you show up 5 minutes late and your boss is like, all right, everybody on the line. You're all gonna run. You're all gonna run at work. That's it. That's what we're gonna do. Or you're on a sales call and your boss walks by and doesn't like your sales call and they're yelling at you. Like, oh, what are you doing? No, you got to say this. You got to do that. If it's not appropriate to do to adults and we're doing it to kids, for me, we're bullies because we know that they
Ooh,
can't fight back.
ooh,
Why is it appropriate to disrespect a child and teach them that this is okay? Because then all they see authority figures as are these people who really don't care about us. They care about what we can do for them, what they can get from us. And as soon as we don't do what they need, we're worthless. How do you form a relationship with that? We're supposed to be teaching life lessons. That's not a life lesson that I want to pass along. So I think we have to examine what are we doing. But again, it's not soft. It's not allowing accountability. It's so important that we point out this is not okay. And sometimes it has to be in the moment. If somebody makes a comment, like that's not kind towards somebody else when you're in a huddle, it's okay to stop and say, hey, you know what? That's not okay. We don't do that here.
mm-hmm.
Why don't you go ahead and apologize and then we'll move forward. And then later you can have a more constructive conversation about it. Or later the team can have a conversation. Hey, have you ever had anybody who called you out like that? How did it feel? What's a better way to deal with that? And then we make it a talking point, a learning point later on when we have more time to sit and think about it. So it's not that we ignore it. And I had somebody who read my book say, we tried it and we couldn't hold anybody accountable. So it was just a free for all. And I was like, no, no, no. There is
They missed something.
accountability. Yeah, there is accountability, but how we do it, a punishment is you're dropping the ball, so I'm going to make you do push-ups. Well, this always gets me just like I don't understand the logic behind it because if I'm dropping the ball and I've done 150, 200 push-ups, I guarantee you I'm going to drop more balls because my arms are sore, my hands like if I'm dropping the ball, a consequence is we need to spend more time working on our passing and our throwing or in our catching. And we need to maybe look at our fundamentals and we need to we need to back up or we need to do more drills on the wall, whatever it is. But push-ups doesn't make you a better passer and thrower. It is strictly a punishment. It is to let you know, I want you to be miserable because you are not meeting expectations instead of I want you to be better because you're not meeting my expectations. And so I just say dial it in. And if they're late, deal with the lateness. Running doesn't deal with lateness.
Mm.
If they're dropping the ball, deal with the dropping the ball. And if it comes down to my kids not playing, and I will tell you, I have an open door policy. And I used to like keep the parents away from me because that's what I was taught. I have an open door policy, and this scares people to death. And I have very few rules. One is, of course, don't talk to me right after a game, other than hi and I think you're awesome. That's good. But yeah, the other one is don't talk to me about someone else's kid. I don't want to hear why their kid isn't as good as your kid. I'm not in the comparison game. Everybody's different, and everybody matters and has value here. So and sometimes it's matchups, and sometimes it's it's not about who's the best and who's whatever. There's a lot of things that go into that, but I have an open door policy. If you don't understand the choices I'm making, I will 100% of the time be willing to explain it, because even if you don't agree with me, I'd rather know my side than you're sitting up in the stands with all the other parents deciding what you think I'm thinking, because I've heard what you think I'm thinking and it's ridiculous. So, I would rather have, and then I have people in the stands going, oh no, I talked to coach. This is what she's doing. Then you start to have people advocating for what you're doing, or at least they're not confused. And my kids had issues with, especially like my sons had a hard time really advocating for themselves and asking questions. And then when they got the answer, they didn't understand it. And so they try to explain to me, yeah, well, coach didn't let me practice today. I just ran around the field. I'm like, well, why did that happen? And they're like, I don't know, something with the clouds and the, it's like, what are you talking about? It just wasn't translating, because their coach told us at the beginning of the season, I never want to hear from a parent, only your kids. I couldn't ask. And so he's upset, and I can't help him. I can't do my parental role, which is to help him, deal with the emotions that come with being in sports, because I don't understand what's going on myself and I have no avenue. And so you're at this place where the parent is frustrated, the kid's frustrated, and the coach is going, sorry, I'm not giving you information. So I have an open door policy. I will always answer, whatever. And if you have an issue with playing time, I'll talk about that too, which is another no-no. But if you're not playing, there's a reason. I
Yeah.
guarantee, and the reason is not I don't like you, because that is always the go-to. Because every parent, and I'm sorry for every parent who's going to get upset, but every parent thinks their kid is the best player on the team, and that the team would die and fall away if their kid was not on the team. And it's fair. I have 3 kids that played sports. I get it, right? But we, as parents, we're not looking at the big picture. We're not, there's so many things more than like, oh, my kid's faster than everyone else. Well, there's other elements going
Yeah.
on here, and so, but if you ask me, I will tell you, and your child, teen, whatever, here's why you're not getting the playing time. And here is what I'm looking for. Here are some drills and things that you could do together if you would like to work together to get them more playing time. I think that's a great role for a parent to have. Go in the backyard, play catch, whatever it is. And here are some options. Let's meet again in 2 weeks and see if there's progress. And now we have given them an action plan. We have heard them. We have told them exactly what they need to work on. You don't have to agree, but you will never leave here and say I wasn't fair or that you were uninformed. And for me, that's a win. And that's the best that I can do. Are there a few bad eggs out there that are going to hate you no matter what, unless your kid wins every award and starts every game and whatever? Of course. And you can be logical all you want to, and it won't work. But if the majority of parents feel like, again, like the kids, they are safe and understand that you are on the same page. At the end of the day, I want your kid to be successful. You want your kid to be successful. I want your kid to have a great experience. You want your kid to have a great experience. Your kid wants to have a great experience. Oh my gosh, we have the same goals. We are not on two opposite sides of the line. I am inviting you to come to my side and to put the problem on the other side, put the obstacle on the other side, and let's battle it together, because we all want to get to the finish line in this.
Okay, I love this. How can our audience connect with you to learn more about this and get your resources? Where can they go?
Yeah, you can go to my website. KateLeavell.com is a good way to just kind of track me down. You can message me through there. You can get my email, Kate@KateLeavell.com. Very easy. And yeah, I love working with teams, organizations, leadership. I go through Confessions of an Imperfect Coach. If you are a coach or a parent coach, or even just a parent dealing with a coach, maybe you could slip them a copy. It is a very real and very raw look at what I went through and my transformation of my mindset. And the only reason I put it out there was because I knew that it was going to save someone else from having to go through as much as I had to go through without any answers and really no one to ask. And so I put it out there and said, all right, I'm going to go ahead and let my mess ups be, be a guide for somebody else.
Mhm.
And that's why it's there. But apart from that, I love going out and working with Stick Together. I do Stick Together workshops with everywhere from youth organizations up through, huge organizations. And it's just really fun to help people learn how to build stronger teams. And over the course of the workshop, you watch the transformation of your group happen, and it's really powerful.
Mm. Well, thank you so much for our time. And audience, listen, all of the links to the books and her website and socials will be in the show notes. So if you're listening, go to your podcast app. You'll find it there. If you're watching, you know the drill. Just look straight down. There's a button that says more, or something that says more on YouTube, and you can find out the information there. Kate, thank you for being our guest today.
Awesome. Thank you for letting me talk about all my favorite stuff.
And audience, thank you for sticking with us. Look, if you stuck with us this long, you found a great deal of value in what we're saying today. And so please like and share and comment on this. And the most important aspect of that is the share. Because someone that does not know about this episode needs to hear this message, needs to know about this concept, needs to know how they can change the way that they're leading their youth teams. And so please share this with them so that they can learn from it as well. And we'll see everyone again on another episode very soon of the Generation Youth Podcast.